It's Thursday, June 13. In the headlines, gangs recruiting students via social media. In business news, JAMPRO's vice president says Jamaica can profit from trends in serving the diaspora. Regionally, African and Caribbean states seek to fuel future prosperity through shared history. And in sports, West Indies bats to Super 8 in the T20 World Cup 2024 after their victory against New Zealand. This is the news on PBC Jamaica. I'm Simone Absalom Gale. Social media platforms have become a vehicle for criminal gangs to recruit students. This has raised concerns among educators and law enforcement about the increasing influence of online networks in luring young people into gang activities. Danita Rodney has more details on this story.
Following a revelation by the Kingston Western Police last week of a worrying trend of gang violence in communities, also spilling over in high schools within the division, President of Jamaica's National Parent-Teachers Association, Stuart Jacobs, has voiced a warning that social media is now a sophisticated tool for criminal networks to recruit children and that there is now a need for parental training to recognize and counter gang recruitment, likening it to strategies used against substance abuse. Mr. Jacobs says there needs to be a paradigm shift in light of the variables at play.
There was a time when the gangs would have to come to your gate to speak to your child. They're no longer doing that. They're WhatsApping them. They're sending them a message on the phone. So they are being recruited virally. So when they behave like that in school, the gangs sometimes have that influence of reaching them.
He proposed that part of the school curriculum should focus on reconciling students involved in these activities and that parents should also receive training to handle the situation.
So the curriculum needs to be the channel towards reconciliation. How do you speak to somebody other than a parent that you have been recruited in a gang? And how does the parent deal with it? And therefore, there needs to be a holistic approach where parents are now re-engaged of how to handle these signs. Sometimes when they are being recruited by the gangs, there's no sign of it. It is when they come into the school, it manifests.
Mr. Jacobs has also contended that modern church denominations are not doing enough to foster a value-based system for youth.
I would like first to consider what is being preached. I've said it so many times that the new wave of preaching has taken on a different shift. And I'm speaking about the non-traditional church, the new wave of churches. We find that what they're preaching is prosperity gospel. Prosperity, how to get rich, how to stay rich. There's no longer that emphasis on forgiveness, understanding of human needs, the brotherly love, the sisterly love, the compassion.
His remarks coincide with rising concerns over escalating gang violence. For the news on PBCJ, I'm Danita Rodney.
Members of the House of Representatives have approved a 180-day extension of the Zones of Special Operations, ZOZOs, in 7 communities across Jamaica. The communities include Denham Town, West Kingston, Norwood and Mount Salem St. James, Greenwich Town, Parade Gardens and August Town in St. Andrew, and Savannah Lamar in Westmoreland. These communities, which were initially classified under a community renewal program, struggle with high crime rates, inadequate physical infrastructure, and numerous other social issues. Speaking in the House on Tuesday, Minister of National Security Dr. Horace Chang explained that community intervention takes time.
Speaker, though these targeted interventions, the ultimate goal is not solely reduce homicide rates in these zones, but to renew, increase public trust in the state and state agencies, reduce victimization, increase human capital development, especially among the youths, empowerment of our citizens, create safe and peaceful environments, to name a few.
He says these interventions are aimed at removing vulnerabilities and weaknesses within these volatile spaces.
Over the past 6 months, we have remained focused on reducing crime and violence in the communities of Mount Salem, Denham Town, August Town, Greenwich Town, Norwood, Parade Gardens, and Savannah, undertaking the necessary investment to change the social conditions within these communities.
He argued that these social interventions, combined with community policing, along with advancement in the government's legislative agenda, will garner the desired outcomes.
To better position the government to carry out our program for social transformation, I'm happy to report that since May last request for an extension in December 2023, a strategic review of the City Security Plan for Jamaica was completed, and the City Security Business Group continues to meet on a quarterly basis to oversee this process. In fact, we meet next Friday. Madam Speaker, the findings of the strategic review will not only better inform the operational plan and interventions going forward, but also to assist with ensuring even more robust coordination and excellent execution of the full multi-sectoral programming undertaken to transform the zones.
Zozos gave members of the Jamaica Constabulary Force and Jamaica Defence Force certain unusual powers that are required to address serious crimes while upholding the fundamental rights and freedoms of citizens. The Media Association of Jamaica has labelled the threats against the life of television Jamaica journalist Giovanni Dennis as, quote, attack on the heart of press freedom and are not to be taken lightly. The threats started after a special report highlighting illegal drag racing in Jamaica. In light of this, the MAJ says it's also an opportunity for the authorities to establish that any form of cyberbullying or cyber intimidation are acts which are not acceptable in our evolving digital communication-based society. The MAJ says the threats have been reported to the police. Plastic bottles comprise 15% of all plastic waste generated in Jamaica. You should know that this poses a plethora of problems for society. During heavy rains, floods can cause gullies to become heavily polluted with plastic and other municipal debris, posing a high risk for those who live and have businesses nearby. When the debris flows out to sea, marine organisms are often trapped, suffocated, ensnared and killed by plastic debris. We continue to examine the plastic pollution problem in the upcoming feature.
It is all around us. It's in almost everything we use. At times it's impossible to imagine life without it, and yet life with it could cease to exist. Plastic pollution is caused by the accumulation of plastic waste in the environment. It has extensive impact on the environment, marine life, and human health, contaminating waterways, harming wildlife through ingestion and entanglement, and disrupting ecosystems. But if this thing is so dangerous, why did we begin to use it in the first place? Even better, why don't we just get rid of it? As humans lived and consumed much of the planet's resources, thinkers began to look for a better way to provide for the needs and desires of people while keeping the environment intact. After all, nature can only produce so much wood, metal, stone, bone, tusk, and horn. The search was one for something that could replace and spare the Earth's natural resources. John Hyatt invented celluloid, the first artificial plastic, but it was flammable. Leo Baekeland invented bakelite, the one responsible for modern plastic. Bakelite was the first fully synthetic plastic, meaning it contained no molecules found in nature. Marketed as the material of 1,000 uses, bakelite could be molded into almost anything, providing endless possibilities. The creation of new materials also helped free people from the social and economic constraints imposed by scarcity of natural resources. When advertisements praised celluloid as the savior of elephants and tortoise, of course that's something humans could get behind. Plastics began to replace other materials such as wood, glass, and fabric in our daily items. Thus, the plastic revolution began. Fast forward to now, and plastic is in everything that we use. Our bottles, kitchen utensils, food packaging, cell phones, televisions, computers, furniture, clothing, makeup, you name it. And thus the problem of plastic pollution. Did you know that almost every piece of plastic that you have used still exists? This is so because plastics do not biodegrade. That is, they do not decay naturally and in a way that is not harmful. Plastics generally only break down into smaller pieces, and even that will take some time.
Time now for the business report with Denise Williams.
Good day, everyone, and thank you for joining us on the Business Report. I'm Denise Williams, your guide through the latest happenings in the world of business. Interim Vice President for the Exports at the Jamaica Promotions Corporation, JAMPRO, Shane Angus, says there are 4 main trends that Jamaica can profit from in serving the diaspora. That is food, beauty, agriculture, and boutique hotels. A lot of people want Jamaican food, but we always struggle to supply people with the required quantities that are needed, said the JAMPRO Vice President. Angus also noted that cosmetics is also something we see growing. People are now demanding Jamaica castor oil, and we can look at utilizing those lands to plant more castor trees, also more ackee trees, more breadfruit trees, to see how best we can meet those demands. Further, Angus stated that one of the new trends we are seeing is that most people are looking at boutique resorts. So we need to look at how we can develop 10 to 20 room villas where families and companies can host retreats and where persons can come for medical recovery and things like that, he reasoned. Angus made these remarks at the JN Group's Diaspora Dialogue webinar on May 30. Omni Industries Limited on Tuesday, June 11, became the first company to be listed on the junior market of the Jamaica Stock Exchange for 2024. Strong demand from the investing public saw Omni's initial public offer IPO of 500 million shares priced at $1 Jamaican per share being oversubscribed within 4 business days and the general pool by nearly 4 times. The company's stock commenced trading on June 11, closing the day at $1.30, thereby triggering the Jamaica Stock Exchange circuit breaker system, as the shares were being traded over 30% of their starting value, as reported by R Today. During trading for the period June 12, 2024, the following companies represent the top 3 most active stocks that investors bought and sold on the Jamaica Stock Exchange. Omni Industries Limited with 15,800,765 units amounted to 44.87% of the market volume in terms of sales. Lasco Financial Services Limited with 2,641,644 units amounted to 7.5% of the market volume in terms of sales. Future Energy Source Company Limited ordinary shares with 2,495,344 units amounted to 7.09% of the market value in terms of sales. Over on the Twin Island Republic of Trinidad and Tobago Stock Exchange, trading on June 12, 2024, registered a volume of 418,882 shares crossing the floor of the exchange, valued at $4,937,488 Trinidad and Tobago dollars and 88 cents. Unilever Caribbean Limited was the volume leader with 317,486 shares changing hands for a value of $3,714,551 Trinidad and Tobago dollars and 90 cents, followed by One Caribbean Media Limited with a volume of 26,809 shares being traded for 98,570 Trinidad and Tobago dollars and 57 cents. Moving from the money moves of investors, executives, and companies, we turn to the Forex market. On June 12, 2024, the Bank of Jamaica reported that US $48.6 million was bought from Forex traders, while US $63.9 million was sold to Forex traders. Buying directly from the Bank of Jamaica, foreign currency traders sold the US dollar for $156.49 and bought the US dollar for $154.82. The difference between the buy and sell rate was $1.67, which represents a profit for Forex traders for every US dollar traded. Canadian Forex traders earned a trading profit of 49 cents from transactions with the Bank of Jamaica. The Canadian dollar was sold at $114.49 and bought for $114. For traders looking at the British pound, they pocketed a profit of $2.22, selling it for $197.81 and buying it for $195.59. For the credit report tip of the day, remember that your strong credit score is a gateway to unlock a fantastic relationship with your banker. Envision enjoying the perks of premium credit cards, which include higher limits, rewards, and benefits such as cash back. A strong credit score makes you eligible for these exclusive offers, enhancing your lifestyle. And with that, we wrap up today's business report. I'm Denise Williams. Appreciate your company. Stay well informed. Stay ahead of the curve. Until our next update, take care.
In regional news, the 31st annual Afrexim Bank meetings began Wednesday in Nassau, Bahamas, themed Owning Our Destiny, Economic Prosperity on the Platform of Global Africa. This event marks a milestone in enhancing trade and collaboration between Africa and the Caribbean, addressing shared economic and political challenges. The newsroom's Kurt Campbell is in the Bahamas, and he filed this report.
Regarded as a reunion of Africans in the Caribbean diaspora, the 31st Afrexim Bank annual meetings opened on Wednesday in the Bahamas with a sobering call to action for the two regions to unite on the front of trade and investment. CARICOM Chairman and President of Ghana, Dr. Irfan Ali, will address AAM 2024, adding political and policy context to the discussions alongside the Prime Minister of the Bahamas, Phyllis Davis, Prime Minister of Barbados, Mia Mottley, and Ghanaian President. Under the theme of building a global Africa, this meeting is seen as a continuation of a journey that began in 2008 with the African Union's declaration of the diaspora as Africa's sixth region. And while progress has been made in bringing African diasporas around the world together, Senior Executive Vice President at Afrexim Bank, Dennis Dea, believes some artificial barriers remain, particularly in the Caribbean, that continue to block opportunities. He reminded those gathered at the Baha Mar Convention Center on Wednesday that the African continent is endowed with an abundance of natural resources, accounting for large amounts of global minerals, oil and gas, but continues to struggle in its quest for sustainable development.
I'm hopeful that out of our deliberations over the next 3 days, we will deliver outcomes that will reinvigorate, re-energize, and equip us with a pragmatic strategic option in our quest for accelerated development and economic prosperity. I do acknowledge that we have many challenges confronting our development aspirations. I'm, however, deeply encouraged and gracefully hopeful that through hard work, collaboration, and effective utilization of our own resources, we shall have a proud legacy for prosperity. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we have come to a point where we cannot afford to rely on the generosity or pity of others to continue to wait for non-maturing promissory notes in the form of aid and grants. The imperatives for our unity are enormous, as echoed in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia in 1963 by Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, the first president of Ghana, when he said, "We must unite or we perish.
This is the first time that Afri-Exim Bank is hosting its annual meetings in the Caribbean, bringing together 2,000 persons from Africa to the region.
Director of the Department of Environment, Ambassador Diane Black-Lane, is urging government to declare a climate emergency. The call comes as Antiguans and Barbudans increasingly feel the impacts of climate change, including the searing heat. She believes this unprecedented move is essential to build the nation's climate resilience. Jamie J. Rocher reports.
As the sun blazes down, the heat wave in Antigua and Barbuda is more than just uncomfortable. It's a crisis, as according to the Director of the Department of Environment, Ambassador Diane Black-Lane, who's sounding the alarm and calling for a national climate emergency.
The heat we're feeling now is the same impact that we feel if it was a Category 3 hurricane. As a Category 3 hurricane, the Prime Minister and his ministry would have declared an emergency. We should declare an emergency. Every summer from here onwards, an emergency should be declared, and we should take emergency measures to get people ready.
She says a climate emergency would mean immediate support for the 70% of homes in the country that are not yet climate resilient. This includes reducing the cost of importing crucial materials to help vulnerable communities.
I think you should do it right now. It is hurting people. But because we're not looking for that, we're not being prepared for that, that we're not really tracking. So we know our medical professionals are tracking it and the heat, but we have to start looking at our workers.
The Department of Environment is already stepping up, importing air conditioning units to sell at lower prices. But Ambassador Black-Lane says the private sector is pushing back, claiming unfair competition. The Environment Department's goal is clear: ensure every homeowner can afford air conditioning units. This means everyone, including businesses, must treat AC units as necessities, not luxuries.
Getting an AC unit now is like the same like getting a stove. You know, everybody can afford a stove. Why can't everybody? You're selling the price as a luxury price. You're not selling to the Antigua market, you're selling it to a little segment of the market.
Ambassador Black-Lane says declaring a climate emergency would mobilize resources and support to make homes resilient to heat. She urges a nationwide focus, similar to how the country tackled the pandemic. The plan includes working with the Defense Force to distribute AC units and other essential materials, ensuring everyone feels the urgency of the situation.
Climate change, like I said, is about big things, like both. So you declare emergency, you fix it, and you shut down it, right? But this one is like COVID. It is insidious, it is slow, and then you have to declare an emergency for a year, or maybe even 2 years. And that is different. We are not accustomed to thinking that climate change emergency is a 2-year program, so you can get everybody together and focused, like a countrywide, government-wide focus.
Ambassador Black-Lane emphasizes that this is not just about comfort, but survival. The initiative aims to help everyone, especially the most vulnerable, cope with the rising temperatures. With these steps, she's hoping Antigua and Barbuda will become a model nation in climate resilience, showing the world how to adapt and thrive in the face of climate change. Jamie J. O'Shea, ABS News.
In Barbados, tourism figures could reach record-breaking levels in the coming months. The revelation from outgoing chairman of the Barbados Hotel and Tourism Association, Renee Copin, as she addressed the annual general meeting of that body at Sandals Royal Resort. Trevor Thorpe was there.
In her final address as chairman of that body, Ms. Copin says projections and the bookings all point to greater airlift for Barbados. She says North Atlantic will suspend its London Gatwick service and replace it with a charter.
Virgin is going to add their flagship Airbus A350-1000 to Barbados again for their rotations during winter 24-25. This is a big development as this aircraft has superior onboard product to what currently exists and more opportunities for us to add, of course, extra seats over the aircraft that we currently have. We're projected to end 2024 with 467,889 seats out of the UK, and that's an increase of 16.1% over 2019.
The tourism official says the numbers are also up in the USA market.
Both Caribbean Airlines and Frontier Airlines will operate 3 times weekly from San Juan to Barbados, providing an additional 3,302 seats a month from this US territory. We're projected to end 2024 with 410,025 seats out of the US, and that's an increase of 14.9% 0.2% over 2019. So we're making good strides, doing big things. Thank you, Minister and team.
Europe is slightly down, but a pre-COVID performance picture is being seen for the industry with growth in the Canadian and Caribbean markets.
So overall, we're doing significantly better with our airlift in 2024, and 2025 is poised to be another record-breaking year on the current trajectory. The US market, for the first time ever, is scheduled to eclipse 50,000 seats in 1 month in January 2025. And again in March, it rises to 55,532 seats when United Airlines takes their Newark service back to daily for March and April.
In sports, we start with cricket. West Indies has reached the Super 8 stage at the T20 World Cup 2024 after a 13-run victory over New Zealand in Trinidad and Tobago Wednesday night. It was Sherfin Rutherford who rescued the West Indies from a seemingly hopeless position. He hit an unbeaten 68, including a staggering 37 from the final 2 overs, lifting the Windies from the depths of 30 for 5 in the 7th over after they were put in by Black Caps skipper Kane Williams. So while the West Indies retain a perfect record at the top of Group C, New Zealand are on the brink of an early exit. They must win their remaining matches against Uganda and Papua New Guinea and hope other results go their way to advance. Now over to the field with football. There were first-time victories for a quartet of countries in the second round of CONCACAF World Cup qualifying on Tuesday, with St. Kitts and Nevis, Guyana, Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic notching wins. TTT Live has the story.
The second round of CONCACAF qualifiers for the 2026 FIFA World Cup on Tuesday saw 5 players score twice for their respective teams, including Guyana's Dion Moore, Dominican Republic duo of Rafael Mata and Donny Romero, and Puerto Rico pair of Jeremy DeLeon and Wilfredo Rivera, while goalkeepers Jelani Archibald of St. Kitts and Nevis, Miguel Lloyd of the Dominican Republic, and Joel Serrano of Puerto Rico recorded clean sheets. Puerto Rico entertained their home crowd with an 8-0 thrashing of Anguilla. Braces from De Leon and Rivera, plus 1 each from Roberto Yadash, Leandro Antonetti, Darren Rios, and Nicolas Cardona accounted for the result. Puerto Rico scored its first win and improved to 4 points, moving up to second place. Suriname leads the group with 6 points. In Bridgetown, Barbados, St. Lucia, coached by Stern John, drew 2-2 with Aruba in a Group C encounter. Walter Bennett and Isai Marcelia scored for Aruba, with Riddell Stanislas and Peter Pearson getting the goals for St. Lucia. Both nations earned their first points of the campaign. St. Lucia and Aruba ranked 3rd and 4th in the group behind Curaçao and Haiti, who have 6 points respectively. Also in Barbados, the Jamal Shabazz coach Guyana earned a 3-1 victory over Belize in Group D, where Dion Moore got his double and 1 from Liam Gordon. Carlos Bermudez scored for Belize. The Golden Jaguars obtained their first victory of the second round and sit in 3rd place in the group. Nicaragua and Panama lead the group with 6 points each. The Dominican Republic won at home 4-0 against the British Virgin Islands in Group E. 2 each from Rafael Mata and Romero did the damage. The Dominican Republic improved to 3 points and maintained 3rd place in the group. Guatemala and Jamaica are 1st and 2nd in the group with 6 points each. Wayne Cunningham.
And that's it for the news on